all the producers, they always wanted their disc to be the loudest because they felt, well, that would create more attention. You put that stylus down or you put in the CD and bang, yours sounds louder than everyone else's, and success. The only problem is it might get people's attention, but it doesn't mean success.
One of the most famous mastering engineers of all time is the legendary Bernie Grundman, responsible for having his hand in the finishing stages of hits such as Michael Jackson's Thriller.
You couldn't get Bernie Grundman. Bernie Grundman only worked for the exclusive Michael Jackson, Prince, Luther Vandross. He wasn't fucking with you. Okay? He was like the ultimate dude to master your shit. When you go to Bernie Grundman's shop, fucking tapes be stacked up like like pancakes in a fat man's house.
And much of Bernie Grundman's approach revolved around having the cleanest and purest sonics in his mastering process.
It was all about purity and clarity and not don't distort anything.
And with this frame in mind, Bernie took a much more minimalist approach to his mastering process, taking into account every step of the chain.
These processors have a byproduct of a type of distortion. And you're going to be taking this music now in a less musical direction. And it's going to start sounding much more mechanical. It's going to sound less humanized in a way.
And as a result of this approach, Bernie would rarely push things to an extreme. Again, maintaining his taste in sonics, which had earned him some of the most legendary albums and clients like Michael Jackson and Prince.
I don't really believe in pushing things to an extreme to where it becomes way less musical. That's a judgment call.
However, one of his contemporaries in Bernie Grundman mastering would have a different taste and a different judgment when it came to loudness and pushing things.
Brian was his second. There was a couple of guys over there. Brian would let you sit in the studio with him and let him cut your shit. Bernie wouldn't let you do that. If you got to Bernie wouldn't, ain't nobody sitting in the studio.
This engineer was Brian Gardner, another engineer at Bernie Grundman mastering. And let's just say his sessions went a little different.
The wildest story on tape that you can tell us without getting yourself in trouble.
It was one of the Snoop sessions.
Oh, here we go.
Say no more.
Wow.
Crazy. There were poker games going on and hair was being styled and a fight broke out. My plaques were flying off the walls.
And the attended sessions that Brian would do would allow many of his clientele to have more control over the mastering process.
Brian would let you sit in the studio with him and you could tell him what you wanted. And he became adapt to the hip hop sound, and that's how he got the nickname Big Bass Brian.
And as Brian became more adept to the hip hop sound, he started pushing the loudness boundaries on many hip hop and pop records.
But Brian was the only one that listened to us and would cut our shit deeper.
Brian actually was really guilty of. He was one of the first to push levels to crazy.
Red is good.
And with this approach, Brian Gardner would go on to master albums such as Dr. Dre's The Chronic 2001, which would push the sonic boundaries and become a reference for many top producers and engineers.
Chronic 2001 was the reference for how loud to be, and it hit -8 on the VU scale. And I thought that was my reference for like 10 years.
However, pushing these boundaries was not without its technical consequences. In order to achieve this level of loudness, Brian had to introduce some distortion. This came from pushing his Lavery Gold converter. And while this approach was not the most pure or technically correct, it gave the Chronic 2001 a certain sonic characteristic that became very desirable, despite having a bit of distortion.
Sounded great, good though. Distortion, like Dre's distortion, you know that?
And with the success of this Chronic 2001 album, the art of applying subtle yet musical analog distortion in the mastering phase of some records became a more desirable characteristic. And many would argue, including myself, that this laid the groundwork for today's more distorted and clipped hip-hop aesthetic.
Noise and distortion has become part of music now, right? Whereas before, when I started, it was all about purity and clarity and not don't distort anything. Well, go listen to Igor from Tyler, the Creator. There's distortions and noises and or some lo-fi even genre hip hop stuff that's just blown out. It's a sound now.
Hopefully y'all found this video very interesting. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next video.